Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here at the end of another day of spoiler season for Midnight Hunt. So, put them trade tables and seat backs to full upright position as we go into the new spoilers listed today. So, that would be for 9-3. Plus, I got to sneak in a 9-4, which close to midnight kind of got in there on me. So, with all that said, remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and buckle right in as we begin this. Put some comments down below. Tell me what you think about the cards. All that stuff helps support the channel by feeding that YouTube algorithm and getting a couple more views to the channel. And if you want to actually make some monetary donations, let's start by actually giving you something for it. Hit the description. Look for the eBay store. When the Midnight Hunt is released, I'll be doing box openings. And those cards will all be listed on the eBay store for sale. And all my previous box opening series cards are on there as well. D&D is still in there, so go in there and get you some good D&D cards while we're talking about it. So, with that done, and without further ado, let's check out the spoilers for 9-3. So first here, we'll start with the ones I have to translate. So this guy here obviously needs a brain. This is a pantry zombie. For 1 blue, we have a zombie. It's a 1/3. It's not bad. It's a defender, though. Yeah, you can tap 3 untapped creatures you control to look at the top card of your library, and you may put that card into your graveyard. Um, Very interesting. I don't think it's gonna do a whole lot. I mean, it's a defender. It'd be great if you're playing blue in draft and there's an aggro deck that's able to be made. So yeah, it's common. Next here we have Stuck in the Cemetery. Actually, I'll be stuck in the gate. But anyway, for a blue and a colorless of enchantment order, you can enchant the creature when stuck in the cemetery in its battlefield. If you have 5 or more cards in your graveyard, you tap enchanted creature, and it doesn't untap during controller's untap step. So this is a pretty good common creature removal for blue, basically. It's your normal blue creature removal. So, good for draft. That's about it. Moving on. All right, we have the Falcon Wrath Pit Fighter. Oh, we have a rare for 1 red. Vampire Warrior. It's a 2/1, so we're off to a good start. For a red and a colorless, you can discard a card. Sacrifice a vampire, draw 2 cards. Activate only if an opponent lost life this turn. So, this is a really good card for um, Red Rush. 1 red for 2/1. It doesn't come into play tapped. If you need to, you can sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. Um, and discard a card, obviously. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, I think it's got some serious possibilities. I think it will probably definitely see some standard play. Maybe even modern. But honestly, if you're playing modern and I'm going to play 1 red for a 2/1, I'm playing a monkey. Anyway, moving on. So here we have a flip card. We have the Fangblade Thief, which is this side over here, uncommon. Red 3 colorless is a rogue werewolf. For red and colorless, it gets +1/+0 on first strike to end of turn. Daybound, and it's 3/4. So that's pretty amazing for a draft card. Maybe even standard playable just because, wow, first strike, 4/4 first striker for 2 mana. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Alright, so if you happen to flip it over, you get the Fangblade Craven, which is a werewolf. Same ability, pumps 2/0 to the end of turn. Doesn't get first strike, apparently. But for a red and 4, creatures you control get 2/0 until the end of turn. And now it's a 4/5. So this has some definite legs on it to be a contender um, for a deck in standard. 4 mana is cheap enough. The the bodies are cheap enough. The abilities are good enough. Maybe we'll see, instead of a red rush deck, we'll see another big red deck like back in the days. So moving right along. Here we have the Siege Zombie, that's pretty impressive for a zombie. A black and 1 for a 2/2, already good rate. It's a zombie. Tap 3 untap creatures you control. Each opponent loses 1 life. That's pretty great for a common. This definitely could be a good draft card. This is easily playable in standard. 2 mana 2/2 with an ability. I mean, come on, hook me up. All right, so moving on. We have the Ghoulish Procession, black and 1. This is an enchantment. Whenever 1 or more non-token creature dies, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with decay. This ability triggers once only each turn. This is easily going to be a playable card in standard, just because, if you're playing that vampire that we just talked about for 1 red, you play this on turn 2. On turn 3, you attack with the vampire. Maybe they block it, maybe they don't. Either way, maybe you punch them with it, and then you sacrifice the vampire, discard a card, draw 2 cards, and make a 2/2 and replace it. Seems pretty sweet, right? So Um, the only drawback is a decayed creature can only swing once, so but it's better than nothing, right? So this could be a thing. We'll have to wait and see. That's right, boys. We got a Pippa Needle reprint. So in case you didn't know what a Pippa Needle does, you choose a card name when it comes in for one, and the activated abilities of that card cannot be activated unless they're mana abilities. So this is a great card to be put back in standard. Way to deal with planeswalkers for any color. The art is phenomenally gross, but hey, what do you expect from Innistrad? So great reprint, not worth a whole lot, but a very powerful playable card. Next, we have the Curse of Silence, one white. I'm pretty sure it looks like he doesn't have a face. I mean, he doesn't have a mouth on his face. Anyway, so this is a curse. It looks like a mythic. This picture's awful. Sorry about that. You enchant a player. As the Curse of Silence enters the battlefield, choose a card name. Spells with chosen name, enchanted player casts cost 2 more to cast. Whenever enchanted player casts a spell with the chosen name, you may sacrifice Curse of Silence. If you do, draw a card. It might have its purpose. I don't think it's good enough, but it's okay. Honestly, I probably wouldn't even use it. Yeah, it just doesn't scream good to me. All right, moving right along, we have a flip card. So the first side is the Graveyard Trespasser, 3 mana for a 3/3. It's good on rate. The ward is discard a card, so this is a great rare already. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to one target card from a graveyard. If it's a creature card, exile this way. Opponent loses a life, you gain a life. This is an amazing rare for black, and it's going to see lots of play, especially when you flip this thing over to the other side and you get the exact same thing, except now it's a 4/4. So, yeah, for 3 mana. This card's going to be a powerhouse in black decks, or any deck splashing black for that matter. Moving right along, we have Seize the Storm, 1 red, 4 colorless for a uncommon. You create a red elemental creature token with trample. This creature's power and toughness is equal to the number of instant sorcery cards in your graveyards and the number of cards with flashback in exile. This is going to be an amazing draft card. Just because 5 mana, you can easily make a 3/3 or a 4/4. The flashback gives you a second run at it. So yeah, I think this is a great uncommon for draft. It is kind of pricey, so you won't be able to play other big creatures with this. But it can be good, and it may even be good enough. Well, I don't think it's good enough for standard because of sorcery. But hey, maybe commanders will like it. So here we have the vampire socialite. So for a black and red, we get a 2/2 with menace. Okay, we're on par already. The socialite enters the battlefield. If opponent lost life this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. So when it enters the battlefield, this is a vampire, so it's a 3/3 for 2. That's pretty sweet. So red rush, here we go. Or Rakdos, I guess. And then as long as an opponent lost life this turn, each other vampire you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter. So you can start pumping these guys out as 4/4s for 2 mana. So a black-red deck obviously is going to be the way to go for aggro in this set, looks like. Because this card is pretty powerful. We've already seen cheap black cards. So we have the Celestis, 3 colorless legendary artifact. If it's neither day nor night, as the Celestis enters the battlefield. If it's neither day nor night, it becomes day. Okay, so this starts the day cycle. You tap it for mana of any color. 3 and tapping it. If it's night, it becomes day. Otherwise, it becomes night. Basically, you just change what time of day it is. As a sorcery, and whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, you gain a life and you may draw a card. If you do so, discard a card. This is going to be phenomenal for commander decks. This is the kind of silly shenanigans that they want. It's 3, mana of any color. Gives the ability to draw a card, discard, gain life. I mean, we may even see this get a little bit of standard play because, drawing a discard and, nothing like having a Merfolk Looter that taps your mana. Like, Elf/Merfolk Looter, basically, it's an artifact for any deck. I can definitely see it with some legs on this one. Moving along, we have Arcane Infusion. Here we go. So for red and blue, here goes, oh, is it? Look at the top 4 cards of your library. It's an instant. You may reveal an instant sorcery card from among them, put them into your hand, rest on a bomb in random order, flashback for 5. If this deck becomes a thing, this is definitely going to be a thing to be in it. So, do I think it's good? Yes. Will it be playable? Completely depends on whether cards are in the set for standard. In Commander, seems good. That's probably about as far as it'll go. Next here we have the Kessick Naturalist. So for a green and a red, we have a 2/2. It's a flip card. Um, when the Naturalist attacks, you add a red or a green until the end of turn. You don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. So that's pretty sweet. It's pretty much a Land of War elf that punches you in the face. But anyway, once it flips over, other werewolves and wolves you control get +1/+1. And when it attacks, you add a red or a green until the end of turn, just like before, yada yada yada. So now it's a 3/3. So this will be a really good card for those Gruul decks that you guys have been seeing. Seems pretty sweet. It's got the wolf tribal theme going on with pumps. I really think there's going to be a werewolf deck in here, guys, that just things get large quick. So moving on. Next we have the Gavany Town Guard. So for 2 white and 1, we get 3/3. It's right on par. And it's only an uncommon. Ward 1, even better. If it's neither day nor night, it becomes day when it enters. And whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them, value 3 or less. Put it into your hand. The rest on the bottom in random order. This is an amazing uncommon. Unfortunately, it's 3 white. But the ability that it has can really powerhouse out some white weenie decks because you just get to keep drawing cards. I mean, if you draw a land one turn and you brick, well, you don't cast any spells, right? So, turn ends, dig through top 4 cards of your deck, look for a creature. So, yep. Anyway, moving right along. Seems pretty good. All right, here we have another card with Disturb. We have the Devoted Graphkeeper. It's a blue and white for a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, you mill 2 cards. Whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, tap creature you don't control. It has Disturb, so for 3 mana, you can make a 3/1 flyer. It can only block creatures with flying, and if it would die, you exile it instead. This seems really good for like a white-blue spirit / aggro deck almost, because 3/1 flying is amazing for 2. I mean, a 2/1 is okay for 2, but 3/1 flying for 3 is nuts, especially when it's the same card. It's like built-in card advantage. Pretty sweet card. Going to be great for draft. Probably going to see some standard play for a deck for it. We have the Lunar Frenzy for red and X. Target creature you control gets +X/+0, gains first strike, and trample to the end of the turn. This thing is bananas. Not only do you first strike everything dead, but you trample over too. This is going to be an amazing combat trick in draft, and it may find its way into standard with all the cards that we just saw that, like, when creatures attack, you produce mana. Like, you run 4 of these and another card, I mean, you literally can swing in with your 2/2, gain a red mana, and you should have, if you make your third land drop, you can make it a 5/5 with first strike and trample and do some serious damage as a removal card with this. So, I got high hopes for it. We'll have to see where it goes. Next here we have the Hobbling Zombie. So for a black and 2, you get a 2/2 with Death Touch. That's about on par. However, you get a special ability for this common that when it dies, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decay. So that's pretty sweet. It's basically a removal spell that replaces itself. So for a common, this is pretty powerful. Great for draft. Probably about as far as it goes, though. Alright, next here we have the Blade Stitch Scob. Blue and a black for a 2/3. And other zombies you control get +1/+0. So we got another Lord. 4 zombies. It's not a rare or anything. It's kind of a semi-lord, but I think this will be a very popular card because it fits very well in zombie decks. Not only is it a zombie, and it will be pumped by other zombie lords, but other zombie lords will also be pumped by this. Yada yada. It's cheap. Seems to be a good card. Moving right along. Dissipate's back, guys. Back from old Pharos' days. The counterspell for 2 blue and 1. That when you counterspell, you exile it. And with all the graveyard shenanigans going on, I understand why they reprinted this. I think it's a great counterspell. It's really good for what it does, especially if it's in the right kind of format where you need to exile things. So, good reprint. I'm glad they did it. Next here we have, oops, this again. My bad. Oh, while we're on this topic, I remember I stuck it in here now. The great thing about this card with zombie decks, guys, most zombie lords cost 3. This costs 2. So it's not fighting zombie lords for that turn 3 spot. It's actually one you can get out before the lords and then play a lord and still have this out. So yeah, anyway. Back to where we're at. Flame Channeler and the Embodiment of Flame. So this is a flop card. Red and colorless for a 2/2. Once again, red rush right on point. When a spell you control deals damage, you get to transform a Channeler. When you transform it, it becomes a 3/3, which is pretty good for 2 mana. And whenever a spell you control deals damage, put a flame counter on the embodiment of flame. Remove a flame counter from embodiment of flame. Exile top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. That's pretty powerful for mono red or red rush for the card advantage that they really need. So if there's a red rush deck, this card should definitely be in it, I think. But standard only. Alright, look at this beauty here. It's Geese of the Glorious Resurrector. So for 2 black and 2, we have a rare. It's a 4/4. It's already on par to be a great card on mana cost. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. At the beginning of your upkeep, put all creature cards exiled with Geese of the Glorious Resurrector onto the battlefield under your control. They gain decay. This thing is busted. This should have been a mythic. This is nuts. This is like that 5 mana card that whenever your opponent sacrifices something, it comes into play on your side of the field. Except it's for every creature. Like, this is nuts. This is an amazing card for black. It's 4 mana for a 4/4. You're already in black and probably red, so you're going to shoot all their stuff out of the way anyway, which means it comes onto the field on your side to give you creatures with your removal spells. This is just amazing. You're going to see it in commander decks. It's going to be great in draft, and standard should definitely be playing this thing. Moving on. We have Clear Shot, green and 2. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 in the turn. It deals combat damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. So a better fight card, which is what we're seeing a trend into, where they don't deal damage to each other. They just deal, one creature deals damage to the other. This one's really good for 3 mana. It's an instant, plus you get a +1/+1 to end a turn. I think this card's amazing. It's going to see a lot of draft play. That's probably about it. Great combat trick. Next here we have Curse of the Shaken Faith. So this is a rare for red and 1. It's a curse, so you enchant a player. Whenever the enchanted player casts a spell other than the first spell they cast each turn, or copies of that spell, Curse of the Shaken Faith deals 2 damage to them. So this is going to be a really, really good card against like Storm style decks. If a Storm style deck appears in standard, this is going to be one of the ways to stop it. Because as they start storming off, they're going to take 2 damage. It's basically like having an Eidolon of the Great Revel on the field playing Modern, while your opponent's trying to cast a whole bunch of stuff that costs 3 or less. This thing's amazing. So I think it's got a lot of potential, and depending on the format, we'll see play. Next here we have Rite of Harmony. So for a white and a green, it's an instant. Whenever a creature or enchantment enters the battlefield under your control this turn, draw a card. Flashback for 4. I don't know if this will see a whole lot of play in standard unless there's a deck that really enables it. But the Enchantress deck in, what is it, Pioneer or Brawl or whatever format that is, and the Enchantress deck in Legacy or maybe even Modern, if once we have this card, can just go wild by spending 2 mana and then just draw a card for everything they have, even if they don't have a creature. So this thing could be nuts. So yeah, I think this might be one of those sleepers that gets real expensive real quick when someone figures out how to abuse it. Moving on, probably great for commander. We have the Faithful Mending. So this is the one that snuck in at the beginning of the day after the clock rolled over. A blue and a white. You gain 2 life. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Flashback is white, blue, and a colorless. This is amazing. However, it's in a weird color to discard. Normally, cards that want you to discard are in some form of black or red colors. So it's making me wonder what's going on in blue that this would be a thing. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because if you have too much mana or you have too much lands in your hand, this is easily a way to fix that. And I think this card has legs just because it has flashback. I mean, if you end up with 3 of these in your opening hand, on turn 2, you cast 1, discard the other 2. They have flashback. Put them in your graveyard. What do you care? And then get real playable cards out of your deck. So I think this is a thing, and we're probably going to see it. It's probably going to see some play, guys. We just got to figure out how do we use it effectively. So with that said, guys, I'd like to thank you for your time. Luckily, this one's only a 20-minute video. So until next time, remember, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and until next time, be kind. And I hope to see you at the pre-release across from my game table. I'll see you then, guys.